HSBC, Swiss private bank, hid millions of dollars for drug traffickers, arms dealers, businessmen and celebrities as it helped wealthy people around the world dodge taxes. While it is not illegal to hold a Swiss bank account, African governments have lost billions in taxes and averted funds to these accounts. It is time for Global Business. Hello and thank you for joining us. I am Penny Nakaribu, live in the Kenyan capital, Nairobi. We've got plenty coming up tonight, including these stories. A free trade union with the Eurasian Economic Union as Russian President Vladimir Putin concludes his trip to Egypt. And South Africa to establish a national mining champion company as the mining in Durban kicked off in Cape Town. Egypt and South Africa lead the African continent as far as billions of dollars stashed in Swiss bank accounts, according to a leaked report, Swiss Leaks, compiled by the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists. The two countries are reported to have stashed $3.5 billion and $2 billion respectively for the period between to 2007. As far as the number of clients stashing money in Swiss accounts, South Africa leads the continent with 1,787, followed by Morocco with 1,068 clients, Kenya with 742 clients, and Egypt with 700 clients. The report says that client and account data was compiled between 1988 and 2007. Among prominent names featuring on the list include Abdul Karim Dan Azumi, the owner of Badika, which is the largest diamond exporter in the Central African Republic. There is also Aziza Kulsum Gulamali, also known as the Coltan Queen, a Burundi-born cigarette factory owner alleged to be trafficking in coltan. Others include Nigerian Aliko Dangote, an industrialist and Africa's wealthiest man, according to Forbes, Belhassan Trabelsi from Tunisia, who is also the brother-in-law to deposed President Zebedine Ben Ali, and King Mohammed VI of Morocco, Johnson Muthama, a senator and mining executive from Kenya. Now, Switzerland, France and the United Kingdom lead globally as far as number of clients stashing money in HSBC's Swiss bank account at 11,000, 9,000 and just above 8,800 clients respectively. Now, as far as money stashed in these accounts, Switzerland leads with $31.2 billion, the United Kingdom at $21.7 billion and Venezuela at $14.8 billion. Now, ICIJ said those named in the report have not necessarily engaged in illegal activities. The report comes as governments seek to crack down on tax evasion to bolster treasuries depleted by the financial crisis and staunch criticism that the rich aren't paying their fair share. In Britain, where HSBC is based, the report sparked criticism that tax authorities hadn't done more to penalize tax evaders.
Stephen Green was an excellent trade minister. He did a good job, but I'd also add that no government has done more than this one to crack down on tax evasion and aggressive tax avoidance. I put it absolutely at the head of my G8 agenda to make sure there's more tax transparency, that big companies pay their taxes properly, and that we raise money from people previously evading and avoiding taxes, and we'll go on doing that as a government.
It's not like the other banking scandals where they've just sort of found out about it and then prosecuted. Here they've actually known about it for a long time and not done anything about it. So I think that the task of, certainly the task of investigating the bank and the individual bankers has to be taken out of the hands of HM Revenue and Customs, who simply haven't done the job, and given to another authority who might do the job. And I suspect that might be the Serious Fraud Office, who are already investigating other banking crimes and should add this to their portfolio.
Now let's discuss this further. Richard Bestick is live in London. Angela Coppola joins us live from Johannesburg. Thank you both for joining us. Richard, this information has been available to the authorities since 2010, yet no action was seemingly taken since then. So why are we only seeing some reaction now after it's been made public? I mean, why the inaction for the past 5 years?
It's an intriguing question, isn't it, Penina? And the answer to which there are a number of regulatory bodies around the world want to know the answers, not least, of course, a British parliamentary committee which has launched an emergency review, an emergency inquiry into this scandal. Of course, the US regulators are also looking into it. The simple answer to your question is that it was an IT employee of HSBC who in 2010 managed to download millions of bits of information, data, that he then passed on to the French authorities. The French authorities did share that information with other governments around, but it didn't enter the public domain. In other words, you, me, and the rest of the world's public didn't hear about the activities of this huge bank until that consortium of investigative journalists that you mentioned there published it over the weekend. It took 5 years for them to get hold of that information, put it into the public domain. Now it's there, of course. HSBC is fighting a firestorm of reaction across the world, in Africa, Europe, and of course North America.
Angelo, it's a report that has sparked global outrage, as Richard has just pointed out, and tax evasion has been a huge talking point of late. You've covered a lot of conferences tackling these issues. So do you think this report will shed light on where the loopholes are and how to tackle them?
Well, South African authorities have been closing tax loops, they claim, for several years now. I know that several years ago, the revenue services here offered amnesty to wealthy locals who could come clean about their foreign or those accounts that they held in foreign countries that they hadn't disclosed. And the ex-finance minister, Pravin Gordhan, was very proud of the fact that several hundreds of South Africans had declared these assets. But it now appears that not everyone took advantage of that amnesty. I do believe that internationally tax authorities know where the gaps are, though, and they're attempting to close them. But as you know, if a criminal is determined, they're going to find a way to circumvent any system. What we do know also is that I put a call into the South African Reserve Bank, who kind of oversees banking operations in the country, and I'm still waiting for some form of response from them, though, about this latest issue. Penina?
And Richard, HSBC says it has completely overhauled its private banking business and now puts compliance and tax transparency ahead of profitability. What specific measures has it put in place to curb tax evasion?
Well, specifically, they're saying they've reduced significantly the number of private accounts that they hold in Switzerland by some 70%. They've reformed themselves so that it wouldn't be possible for what happened in the past to happen again. The real question remains whether the investigations that will continue around the world into what happened will be satisfied, whether the investigators will be satisfied, whether the public, who are in some places quite amazed by the way the bank has behaved, will be able to restore its trust in the bank. And critically, I believe, whether, as some people are asking here in the British Parliament, whether anybody from HSBC will actually end up going to jail for what happened.
Angelo, South Africa is among the 203 countries mentioned in the report with links to the Swiss bank's accounts. And like you've mentioned, there were individuals there in South Africa who didn't take advantage of the amnesty offered by government to declare their accounts. So what's the reaction there to this revelation?
Well, the report highlights around 500 South Africans or people with South African passports who have in the region of around $2 billion in about 2,000 accounts. Of course, it's not illegal to hold foreign accounts, but a local newspaper found a really interesting name, and in fact it's on the journalist's website. He's the former arms dealer advisor, Fana Hlongwane. He's on that list, and he holds one of 2 accounts in the Swiss banking system. And he's consistently denied that any money changed hands during the arms deal. But besides that reaction that we saw over the weekend, there's been muted response. Like I said, we're waiting for the Reserve Bank to respond. HSBC's offices in Johannesburg haven't bothered to respond just yet. But this may all change as more names are released in time. Penina?
All right. So Angelo Kepler, live for us in Johannesburg, and Richard Bestick live in London. Thank you both for speaking to us. Now, the European Investment Bank, Europe's long-term lending institution, and East African-based regional development body, PTA Bank, have launched a new €160 million lending initiative. The money is aimed at supporting investments across Eastern and Southern Africa. The EIB will provide €80 million for the new initiative, matched by PTA Bank. It represents the largest single private sector lending scheme ever backed by the EIB in Africa. Under the new initiative, agribusiness, energy, manufacturing and service sector companies will access loans in a range of local and foreign currencies. Companies in 15 countries on the continent, including Kenya, Egypt and Mozambique, will be able to access loans of up to 15 years in euros or dollars. South Africa is looking at establishing a national mining champion company. The country's Minister of Mineral Resources made the announcement at the official opening of the mining in Durban in Cape Town on Tuesday. The minister said the champion would be community-based with strong worker participation. Sumitra Naidu with the story.
Mineral Resources Minister Nwako Ramatlori surprised many when he announced plans for a new national mining champion. He said it would run along business principles and have strong leadership in for the long haul.
This champion will be community-based with strong worker participation and anchored and run along business principles. This then constitutes the fundamental characteristics of the champion we seek to build, be it a single commodity creature or a multi-commodity enterprise. It could also mutate into several creatures, carrying with it many smaller producers we are currently building. The underlying principle is simple, broad-based.
Some say it's good timing. Government wants to build its asset base while a few heavyweights are scaling down. Amplats will make a decision by June on whether it will sell part of its platinum operations. BHP Bulletin might also spin off some of its South African assets. With the slump in commodity prices set to continue, there may be more consolidation in the sector. Glencore last week said it was placing some of its coal mining operations on care and maintenance. Close to 1,500 jobs are likely to be cut. Energy supply is another ongoing concern.
As we acknowledge the reality that there is no mining without energy. Accordingly, government is supporting Eskom to attain a long-term sustainable financial solution. We are also allowing renewables to come online, deploying solar power, processing applications for private coal power stations, and signing up with possible partners in the development of our nuclear energy.
As part of efforts to reform and improve the mining sector, a new forum has been established to better relations between government, industry and labour. The new Mining Growth, Development and Employment Task Team will look at ways of forging more inclusive economic participation for employees and communities. The minister also announced that oil and gas would be split into two separate industries. Sumitra Naidu, CCTV at the Mining in Durban, Cape Town.
And on the sidelines of the mining in Durban, there were discussions about the cooperation between Africa and China in mining.
Mining Durban is aimed at bringing together bankers, geologists, miners, businessmen to network and look at opportunities, particularly in Africa, but also from around the world. There are international people here from China, Australia, South America, Canada, so it really is an international event aimed at progressing the mining industry in Africa.
This is the first time for us to take part in the Investing in Africa Mining in Durban. We hope to be associated with more friends from the mining sector. This will be a bridge for China-Africa Mining Corporation.
Let's take a look at the markets now. When most of the major bourses that we track gained, except the Nigerian index, which dipped by just over 0.75%, some investors are advising the Securities and Exchange Commission and the Nigerian Stock Exchange to focus on encouraging Nigerians in the diaspora and local retail investors to enhance sustainable growth and development of the Nigerian capital market. They're arguing that foreign outflow was a major factor in the poor performance of the market. 15 minutes into the hour and you're watching Global Business. Well, we're taking a short break. We'll be right back.
sustainable development and a commitment to developing partnerships with Africa. Some of the key phrases already used at the Africa Global Business Forum here in Dubai.
There is a need for a predictable environment in which investors have to put their money.
You're watching Global Business. Welcome back. Russian President Vladimir Putin ended his visit to Egypt on Tuesday. Economic relations between the two countries dominated the agenda. Egypt also established a free trade zone with Russian-led Eurasian Economic Union. CCTV's Yasser Hakim attended a press conference addressed by the two presidents.
Two countries that face huge economic challenges. Russia is in the midst of an economic embargo from the West over the Ukrainian crisis. Egypt is trying to lift itself from an acute economic recession after 4 years of political instability and threats of terrorism. A host of deals were signed after extensive talks between the two delegations. A 5-year natural gas supply to Egypt, investment projects in the Suez Canal, including a Russian industrial zone, and promoting trade in agricultural products.
I would like to point out that trade increased by 80%. Wheat supplies to Egypt will increase and importing products from Egypt will double as we develop our cooperation. The Russian companies will also cover a large portion of Egypt's needs in petroleum products.
But constructing a nuclear reactor has been the highlight. Egypt hasn't been able to go ahead with the project for 20 years, either for political or financial deficiencies. It has given the green light on Tuesday.
We witnessed the signing of several bilateral agreements, especially in the field of energy, and signed a memorandum of understanding to construct a nuclear reactor. Russia has a unique experience and proper qualities to aid Egypt in this project.
Meanwhile, tourism is an important source of income for Egypt. Russian tourists have increased by 50% in the last year to hit the 3 million mark. Putin has promised to encourage more Russians to visit Egypt in the future. For experts here, closer ties is a win-win situation. For Egypt, it's the support of a superpower in its development plans. And for Russia, it's a foothold in the region through Egypt's status in the Middle East. Yas Hakim for CCTV, Cairo.
In Uganda, all stock market trading is still done manually, but that's about to change. AltX, the country's first automated exchange, is set to open in a few months. Michael Balake explores how AltX hopes to spread its automatic trading model across the continent.
Until now, brokers in Uganda needed to physically be at the trading floor to deal in stocks. Now, a new exchange will take those trades online.
We have built a technologically facilitated exchange. It's a 100% electronic process, right from the point of order placement up to the point of payment. So we're doing this to simplify the trading experience and to simplify the funds transfer and securities transfer experience.
The Manual Uganda Security Exchange will no longer have a monopoly, meaning investors will be able to take a punt on Ugandan stocks.
Where we didn't have reach into other markets in other countries, we now do. Where investors abroad didn't have direct reach into our capital markets, now they will do. So we're expecting that AltX will enable us to join the global trading environment.
AltX hopes to spread its automatic trading model out across the continent. Uganda is emerging as an attractive market with good growth prospects. The new stock exchange could make a substantial contribution by offering a much-needed platform for businesses to raise funds for expansion and investment. However, the small firms who could benefit from the new investment aren't entirely convinced.
These SMEs are family-owned and do not feel very comfortable opening up because of a number of other considerations: taxation, disclosure, accounting standards, and all those challenges. When you look at those companies that are listed, the major bottleneck is lack of liquidity. at the stock exchange.
Uganda's existing stock exchange has only attracted 16 listings since its launch in 1997. The hope is that the new parallel index will encourage more firms to list and more investors to buy their shares. Michael Baleke, CCTV, Kampala.
Let's look at commodity prices now. When gold dipped on Tuesday as an uptick in the dollar offset the supportive impact of concerns over Greece's future in the Eurozone and fears over escalating violence in Ukraine, which hurt risk appetite. A 0.2% rise in the dollar against its currency basket led gold to stall after the previous day's rise, preventing a steeper recovery from Friday's three-week low. Still ahead, we'll be looking at the making of one of Egypt's most popular cheeses, the Rumi. Rumi is one of Egypt's most popular cheeses. It's a staple that can be found on many Egyptian dining tables. Tonight in Grassroots, we visit a family-owned factory that's been making Rumi cheese for more than 80 years.
Rumi cheese is the main hard cheese consumed in Egypt and a staple for many. Traditionally made of an equal measure of cow and buffalo milk, this cheese has a distinctive smell and taste. The Sharabaya factory in Egypt's second city of Alexandria has been producing Rumi cheese for 83 years. Mustafa Sharabaya inherited the factory from his father. He's taught his sons the family business. Making this popular cheese is not easy and involves several intricate steps.
I enter and pasteurize it. After the pasteurization process, I enter it into the processing tank. I set the appropriate temperature, and then I add the salt, and then I bring it out. By that time, it looks like small seeds. I put it in a pot that's open from the bottom and the top. We call the pot the former. Then I bring it up to the warehouse upstairs.
According to popular belief, Egyptians learned how to make Rumi cheese from the Greeks in the early 19th century.
It is very difficult because you use a specific type of milk that contains a precise amount of salt and requires a precise temperature. If you heat it for too long, the milk spoils. And if you don't heat it for long enough, the cheese turns out like white soft cheese. Not anyone can make this. It requires experience and requires time.
A block of Rumi cheese weighing 15 kilograms costs approximately $52 and takes between 2 and 3 months to mature. The cheese is known as a spring cheese because production mainly takes place in the winter months.
Most of the production takes place during the winter months. We call it a spring cheese because the amount of milk is available in great quantities, and the ratios of milk productions during the months of January, February and mid-December are higher than usual. Later, fodder is less available, and when the temperature rises, it affects the cow's milk.
A unit of cheese requires around 140 kilograms of milk. The Sharabaya factory uses only buffalo milk because it contains less fat. Valdi Karolsa, CCTV.
If you're like me, you've probably accidentally picked up someone else's phone, mistaking it for your own. Now, one London startup company has found an innovative solution to prevent that from happening. It's giving consumers the chance to print their own unique handset. Yes, print their own phone using technology already in our homes. Maria Galang tells us more.
Ever wanted a truly unique cell phone handset? Well, now you can have one to suit your particular taste, thanks to London's startup OwnPhone. Its new print phone kit allows you to print a 2D or 3D handset at home.
It's a developer's kit that enables someone to print their own phone at home, either on a standard inkjet printer or a 3D printer. You get the phone components that you need to do that, the software, and really it gives people total freedom to create whatever they want.
After printing the phone's skin on an inkjet printer, users simply attach it to the front and the back of a seat handset. Once programmed via USB with OwnPhone's Phone Builder app, it's a working cell phone.
Hello? Yeah.
OwnPhone says an endless variety of designs can be printed. And to add an even more personal touch, the Draw Phone tool allows users to draw their own handset.
So simply what you do is draw your phone. So here's the app. So you can choose a 4-button image phone and draw whatever you want on it. Once you've finished, we then take your design and we print it for you straight away, and then you walk out with a phone that you've just drawn, that it's ready to use.
Sunderland says OwnPhone aims to complement smartphones. But for now, the phones are designed primarily for talking, and their ultra-simple, personalized handset design could prove popular among children and the elderly. Maria Galang, CCTV.
And before we wrap up, a quick check of the currencies. Nigeria's overnight interbank lending rate soared to a record high of 100% on Tuesday, signaling a sharp tightening of naira supply as the currency hit 200 to the dollar for the first time. Now, the weekend postponement of presidential elections scheduled for mid-February, along with plummeting oil prices, have damaged investor sentiment towards Nigeria, driving the local currency to a succession of lows despite central bank efforts to prop it up. On Global Business tomorrow, we'll be looking at the issues expected to dominate President Jacob Zuma's State of the Nation address on Thursday. And winter tourism in Algeria withstands looming insecurity and bad weather. And that's it on Global Business tonight. Do send your feedback to Global Business Africa at cctv.com. You can visit our Facebook page, CCTV Africa, and you can also stay in touch with Global Business on Twitter using the handle at CCTV News Africa. I'm Penina Karibe. Thank you for watching.